Today I'm going over my Limit 1 Eldlich deck. Now, one really important note, of course, is that you don't have the same collection as I do, and I don't have the same collection as you do. This means it is very possible that I don't own a certain card that you might own that is actually really optimal for the build, but crafting it just for one event feels kind of bad. So one example, for example, is Necroface. Being able to recur some of your one-off banished traps is actually super huge. Or if they somehow banish your Golden Lord, again, having a Necroface is an absolute include if you own the card, but I don't, so I didn't want to craft it just for that. It's also very possible you're missing certain of the URs I have in this deck, and then you might just want to replace it with some other generic good stuff. So starting off with just some of the hand traps, of course, we have the Veiler. Normally, we don't run these, but since we want impactful cards, and we can't run 3-offs, it does make the cut. So a Veiler, a Maxi, of course, you would run that. Again, normally, Eldlich decks don't run that these days, but we want power, and right now it's definitely worth it. Next we have a Sangan. This is kind of like a hot take, but I think Sangan is going to be really good this format, assuming you don't need your normal summon, because you can literally go normal summon, turn it into an Almirage, and then search one of the impactful hand traps like your Maxi. So for that reason, I think Sangan is good enough. Then we have Ash, just another generic hand trap. Sight, hot take. I think people will be main decking their Lightning Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster when they own them, and so just setting the Sight together with your other traps and then locking them out of the extra deck might be good. Next, we have Lava Golem to break boards. We have our Godarla Kaiju and our Jizukiru Kaiju. These are just, worse Lava Golems, but they're good going second. This might have to be the dark one if you wanted to have less attack. Didn't really consider that. Next, we have our Eldlich, the Golden Lord. Of course, it's an Eldlich deck. Then we have Heavenly Prison. This lets you set any trap from the deck, which is huge when you are playing all these one-offs, and then also protects them, of course. Nibiru normally doesn't make the cut in an Eldlich deck, but now that we're forced into one-offs, we do. Raigeki, blow stuff up. Pot of Extra, draw you 2 cards at the cost of an extra deck, which of course this extra sucks. You don't use the extra. It's literally just for Dogmatica punishment, and then also for your, Pot of Extra banish and your Pot of Prosperity banish. The only card you might sometimes go into is this thing, maybe Anima and maybe Almirage. Now, if you have some of those good level 5 Xyzes, do run them, but again, don't craft this extra. It's just there to, get rid of. Lightning Storm normally doesn't make the cut, but I think now it's pretty good. Just destroying all spells and traps or attack position monsters. It's very versatile. Elixir of Black Awakening, summon your Golden Lord. Pot of Prosperity, dig for those one-offs, baby. We will easily banish 6 for this now just to get into, some of our good one-offs. Cursed Eldland searches for the Golden Lord. Called by outs, hand traps. Also banishes an opposing Golden Lord. That's going to be huge. If you can banish their one-off Golden Lord, yikes. Then we have a White Destiny. Normally this doesn't make the cut, but now that we only have one Scarlet Sanguine, it definitely does. Forbidden Droplet, kinda iffy on this one. If you don't own this, just play Phantom Knight's Fog Blade over it. Next we have Ring of Destruction. This is basically like a worse Dogmatica punishment, or well, any of these other, removal cards, but we only have one off, so it's worth it. Torrential Tribute. This is actually normally in the deck as well. You just wipe everything. Bottomless Trap Hole, definitely not a usual suspect in these decks, but now that we are being limited into our options, I do think this is good enough. Next, the Compulse. Kind of similar story as the Bottomless. Normally doesn't make the cut. This time it does. Next, we have Paleozoic Deinamiscus. This sometimes does make the cut. Lets you banish something. Next, a D-Barrier. Not only is this really good to turn off something like Sword Soul, though I don't think Sword Soul will make the cut in a Limit 1 festival, but maybe it does. But since Pendulum is probably going to be really crazy in Limit 1, being able to just shut them out of Pendulums is crazy good. A solid hand trap and also negate in Infinite Impermanence. Sanguine, of course, searches your Golden Lord. This card, Eldorado Adelantado, is actually really good in this format because if you control an Eldritch monster, activate one of these effects. Shuffle 3 of your banished Eldlixir spells or traps with different names into your deck, and if you do, destroy all cards on the field. Or shuffle 3 of your banished Golden Land spells / traps with different names into your deck, and if you do half your opponent's life points, then you gain life points equal to their life points. So you literally get to reuse all of the one-offs you've lost so far. It basically does the same thing as the Necroface I mentioned earlier. Pretty solid, though, of course, a late game card that might be dead in the hand early on. Next, we have Dogmatica Punishment, of course, targeted removal. Ice Dragon's Prison, same story. Solemn Judgment, because it's Solemn Judgment. Solemn Strike, stop some monster effects. Golden Land Forever is basically a searchable Solemn Judgment for the Eldlich archetype. And then we have some of the floodgates that we are still having access to. As you know, the ban list for this event takes away Skill Drain, it takes away Imperial Order, and it takes away Vanity's Emptiness. But what it doesn't take away is Rivalry of Warlords, Summon Limit, and Gozen Match. The only one I'm missing is there can be only one. If you own that card, put it in, but I don't have it. And again, I don't want to craft it, just one event. Next, we have our Golden Land traps. Of course, Guardian is sometimes not really good enough for ladder, but since we're forced into one of now, this is good enough. We have one Huaquero and one Conquistador. Again, the extra deck is awful. It's just this cannon that you might make if you have Golden Lord plus Prison. Zeus if you happened to make the cannon, or if you're running other level 5 Exceeses, but again, doesn't really come up. Anima to turn your Veiler into it, but again, doesn't really come up. And Almirage if you found your Sangan. But again, the extra deck is mostly just for the Dogmatica punishment as well as your pots. You may also consider Duality right here in this deck now, but I don't own it, so I didn't want to craft it, but it is an option since we're in this type of festival. Hope you found this interesting. If you have any ideas for good cards to put into a deck like this, let me know in the comments down below. Again, we don't all have the same collection, so this festival is pretty awkward for deck profiles, but I figured giving you the ideas is still better than nothing. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.